Hey guys, welcome back. Back with my April wrap-up. A little bit late, a little bit into May here, not too bad. Just took a little while to get everything here together. Before I get into all the books, I just want to share with you this postcard I got from my friend Jason over at the Heavy Blanks. He was sending out, for anybody who requested one, these vintage postcards from the Penguin series of books. And this is a Penguin Perry Mason series by Earl Stanley Gardner. And he sent it to me from Canada. And addressed it to me and my dog Skippy, which is cute, because if you look at the title of the book, it's The Case of the Howling Dog. So I got a good chuckle out of that one. Thanks a lot, Jason. I'm going to put a link to his book channel. It's the Heavy Blanks. Definitely go and check him out. He's an excellent booktuber. Doesn't read your typical YA. He's into a lot of Canadian literature and adult fiction, and I really like to hear his reviews, and it kind of expands my genre interest into that too. He's also an amazing musician. If you haven't heard him sing, definitely check him out. He has a separate YouTube channel, which is Jason V. Purcell. I'll put a link to that website as well. You gotta listen to. He does covers of other songs, but he also writes his own music. And his latest upload, "Bring Me the Morning," an original song he wrote, I can't get it out of my head. I absolutely love it. You're just amazing, Jason. And thank you again for this postcard. I'm gonna go ahead and pop it on my bookshelf over here. There we go. Okay, and on to my wrap-up. Now, I read about 13 books this month, so it's been a very prolific month for me. I have physical copies of most of these except for 2. I had audio books. One of them was an ebook, and 2 I read online. Before I get into all the details of the various titles, I do want to apologize to all of my viewers here for not posting any of these as video reviews. It's just been, like I said, pretty busy with just reading all of these titles, and I've also been kind of involved in 2 different websites that I've been reading or submitting reviews to, and one of those I had mentioned earlier was Pulsit.com. It's Simon & Schuster's website. Anybody can join. They offer books up there to read online for free, and you can share your opinions of them. You could write fan fiction. There's quizzes and questions and appearances or blogs from the authors of those books, and it's just a really interesting site that I had fun with, and read a couple of really good books on there. And then also I became a Random Buzzer, which is Random House's website. And again, you can there's a lot of things you can do on there. You can post reviews. There's quizzes and polls, forums to communicate with, author interviews, all sorts of things. And you can earn these things called Buzz Bucks. Every review you post that's accepted, you get 100 Buzz Bucks. And eventually you accumulate enough of them, you can use them to purchase items, either swag or books or ARCs that they have available in their store. They also have, every Friday, they have an ARC available that you can enter to possibly win. So I've been doing a lot with those various websites. So it kind of took me away from filming some of the videos that I would like to have done. But all of these videos, all these books rather, I've also posted reviews on Goodreads. So I have a written review for each and every one of these, and I will put links in the description down below so you could kind of click on them to get a little bit more detail of the reviews on my Goodreads site. So without further ado, the first 2 books I read are by the same author, and it's Caragh? It's spelt strangely, but I'll put it in the description down below. But it's Caragh M. O'Brien, and it's Birthmarked, book 1, and then I also read the ebook novella, which was Tortured, so it's Birthmarked 1.5. And I'm going to put pictures of those 2 books up right now. So, Birthmarked is a YA dystopian novel, and in this society, the rich and the privileged live within the walls of Enclave, and everyone else lives outside the walls. And within this society, the first 3 children born each month are what they call advanced to go live with new parents inside the walls of Enclave. And this originally started as sort of a charity type thing where if children were poorly treated or abused outside the walls, then parents within Enclave offered to take those children and raise them as their own. But then all the other parents were seeing that these children were getting privileges that their kids weren't getting. They weren't getting those opportunities. So why should people who mistreat their children get, the benefits of this, advancement? And so they turned it into sort of a lottery where, they would draw names to see who would be advanced to go. And then afterwards, it, as the years went by, it turned into sort of a quota system. So now every month, the first 3 children are automatically advanced. So our main character in this particular story is Gaia Stone. She's been trained to become a midwife like her mother. And the story opens with her delivering her very first baby, which happens to be one that will be advanced. And the mother gets all upset and everything, does not want to have her child advanced. But this is how society is now. And Gaia doesn't understand why she's so upset about it. This is part of her duty. This is all she knows, that this happens all the time. So she does her duty and advances the child. When she returns home, she finds that guards have arrived at her home and have arrested both of her parents and taken them to Enclave. She has no idea why they've been arrested, when they'll be coming back. So she sets out to kind of sneak into Enclave and find out these answers. And there she uncovers a whole lot of interesting facts about this society. For the most part, I'd say there weren't a lot of memorable characters within this story. Apart from Gaia and Leon, who's like the commander's son, the commander of Enclave. He sort of helps her out a lot while she's there. There weren't, like I said, a lot of memorable characters. Gaia is a very brave person, like very young at the time, to set out and enter these, walls to find out what happened and try and, free her parents and everything. And then a lot of other events that happen along the way, you see her bravery kind of take that step up. What I had a lot of trouble with this book was the pacing in the beginning was rather slow. Again, not so many memorable characters. And Gaia and Leon's amazing ability to escape. They keep getting captured, and it seems like, they're held by guards. Next thing you know, they're escaped and they're loose, and the guards lost sight of them completely. This happens quite a few times to be almost ridiculous within the book. Overall, it was just an okay read. I gave it 3 stars. I would say it's interesting enough that I would probably rent it from the library rather than purchase it. And it is a trilogy. I'm not sure if there's any more little novellas between this, but I probably will go ahead and rent out the other 2 just to see how the story concludes. And that second one that you saw on the screen was Tortured. That's the novella. It's 1.5. I only gave that 1 star. It kind of takes events from Leon's perspective at the end of all the events that took place in the first book, and it's very short. It's not revealing anything really of any important information. It's something that could have been stuck in the beginning of the sequel, the second book. I saw no purpose to really reading it, and overall I just gave that one 1 star. Okay, the next 2 books I have read are both by Jasper Fforde. And they are the first and second books in his Nursery Crime series. That is The Big Over Easy and The Fourth Bear. Starting with the first one, The Big Over Easy, we are introduced to all sorts of nursery and fairy tale characters, all the ones we grew up with as children, and we find that they live rather full and separate lives from their stories. It's just an amazing world in typical Jasper Fforde fashion, the way he creates these unbelievable worlds and characters. Our main character here is Detective Inspector Jack Spratt, a family man who can eat no fat. He has had a fairly decent career earlier with the apprehension of Bluebeard, a serial wife killer, and the Gingerbread Man, a 7-foot-tall, 4-inch thick cookie and psychopathic mass murderer. But things have kind of gone down ever since, particularly with his trying to prosecute the 3 pigs for what he believes is excessive force, the use of excessive force in the death of Mr. Wolf. And they get acquitted, threaten lawsuits. Things aren't looking too good for Jack. He's not had very good write-ups and amazing crime stories, which seems to be very important in the police, to have those really good journal write-ups and things like that. And things are not looking too good for Jack. And in entering into this story is Mary. She's hoping to make Detective Sergeant, working under the very famous Detective Inspector Friedland Chimes, who is a member of the Detective Guild. He has great write-ups in amazing crime stories and various other journals, and a nearly perfect success rate in closing cases. But instead, she's assigned to Jack, and she doesn't see that her career is going to go much further. So the 2 end up investigating the death of one Humpty Dumpty, whose shattered remains are found at the base of a wall. And they have to determine if it's a case of suicide or if he was pushed and it's murder, and then who would have wanted him dead. There are lots of crazy characters, again, like I said, that appear throughout here, even some of mythology. We meet Prometheus of fire-bringing fame, who ends up dating Jack's daughter. It's just an amazing series. Do I like it as much as Thursday Nights? Not quite, but it still ranks way up there. He never fails to bring a smile to my face when I read his stories, and I gave this one 4 stars. For the sequel, The Fourth Bear, again, we continue with the adventures of Detective Inspector Jack Sprat and his sergeant, Mary. This one is, things, again, aren't looking too great for Jack. His career's kind of on hold. He's been put on suspension, awaiting a mental evaluation after the Red Riding Hood fiasco. It's just kind of talked about it. We didn't see that or any of the events really too much in the book, but he didn't prevent Red Riding Hood or her grandmother from being swallowed by the wolf. He kind of dove in afterward, so he was also swallowed in trying to rescue them. So they think he needs a little mental evaluation before he's put in charge of any case. So when the gingerbread man, the psychopathic mass murderer Cookie, happens to escape from the mental institution, instead of the case being assigned to him, it's assigned to DCI David Copperfield instead. And Jack and Mary are kind of relegated to missing persons cases, and they end up investigating the missing person of Goldilocks, last seen at the home of the 3 bears out in the woods. And as they're investigating, Jack starts to suspect that perhaps a 4th bear may have been involved. And yeah, that's the main part of the case. There is some run-ins with the gingerbread man later on. Again, some crazy characters, and very delightful. I just love the series. I can't wait to see if another one comes out. And again, I gave this one 4 stars. Okay, so the next 2 books I read are both part of the series, and I read book 1, Fallen by Lauren Kate, and book 2, Torment. And this is the Fallen series. There are like 4 books and a novella, I think Fallen in Love it's called. And starting with Fallen, book 1, we meet a main character by the name of Luce Price. She's sent to a boarding school / reform school known as the Sword and Cross after events back home that led to the death of her boyfriend, and she's sort of held under suspicion. This particular school is very isolating, and she feels really cut off from her family and her best friend Callie. Their cell phones are taken away from them. They're only allowed to call 1 call a week. There are cameras all around, and like I said, she feels really shut in. She's a senior, so it's her first year at this school, and, everyone else seems to know everybody, and she's, alone. When she's there, she meets Pen, a rather quirky girl who shows her the ropes of the school. She becomes a very good friend to her throughout the story. We meet Molly, who's kind of a nasty bullying type character at the school. There's Cam, a rather handsome young man who shows an interest in Luce, and she's rather flattered by the attention. And then there's Daniel, a kind of mysterious boy who seems to be harboring the secret, and she feels very drawn to him, like she's known him from some time in the past. And she keeps trying to get closer to him, and he seems to want nothing to do with her. This story proceeded at a rather slow pace. The first half is very, very slow, as you're getting to know all the characters and how the school runs and everything, and a little bit more about Luce. There's the inevitable romantic triangle that seems to develop between Cam and Luce and Daniel. And we learned a little bit about Luce and these shadows that she keeps seeing. And whenever these shadows show up, something bad happens. But no one else seems to see them. So they were very interesting. The story, I'd say, finishes very strong, although rather sadly at the end. But enough that made me want to pick up book 2. This one I gave 4 stars. And then Torment continues where the first book left off. I won't go into too much detail other than to say that because of events that took place in the first book, Daniel feels that Luce isn't safe at this school, and they move her to another school, which I forgot, Shoreline. And they don't inform her parents or her friends. The administrators at the first school know of her relocation and are keeping that secret just to protect her. The school has rather unique, gifted students known as Nephilim. They are the product of the union between fallen angels and humans. And there she learns all about angels and their abilities and gifts. She slowly starts to learn little bits and pieces about her past life that were hinted at in book 1 and very frustratingly revealed both to the reader and to her in a very slow pace. And there's still so much more we don't know. Again, the first half of this book moves a little bit slowly, but I liked the new characters, the Nephilim. I love learning more about these shadows. We find out what they are and what they can do, and we also learn about the outcasts, the kind of creatures that are hunting loose. So again, this finished very strong, had a nice cliffhanger at the end, and I'm looking forward to reading the third book, Passion, as soon as I get a hold of a copy. I gave this one 4 stars. Okay, so I'm kind of watching the time frame on this video so far, and I'm afraid it's going to be too long if I leave it all in one video. So I'm going to split my wrap up into 2, so stay tuned for part 2. See you soon.